Hi, I wanted to take some time to explain this assignment that we're going to be doing, task number 17, professional resources. So for this task, what you're going to be doing is you're going to be choosing a professional resource to share with your classmates. I'm going to take some time here and explain to you what does that mean by a professional resource. You're then going to be making a connection of this assignment to the Code of Ethics, and I'll explain more in detail about this as well. And then also you're going to get a chance to read and respond to the professional resources that were shared by your peers. So when you are choosing a professional resource, what do I mean by that? Well, the main thing that I mean is that it's a resource that helps us serve our clientele. It's something that helps us expand our knowledge and meet the needs of our students and their families. So there might be something that already has come into your mind that you're thinking, I know exactly what I want to share. Or maybe you know somebody who works in the field of early childhood education and you're thinking that you're going to ask them for some ideas. Or possibly you're going to be doing some research. I'm going to be sharing some examples with you of different kinds of things that could be professional resources, and you can feel free to even choose one of these examples because I'm not going to go into great detail about the example. I'm just going to share it as a type of example. So if you see one in here, you can certainly use it. The one thing I'm going to ask is I am going to ask that we want this to be something valuable for you, so it really wouldn't be as valuable if we have people choose the same resource. So it's going to be kind of a first come, first serve kind of a thing. And you're going to be able to see the posts that have already been posted, and you will post your resource, and then that means that it's yours. Now, if you want to, you could certainly do a posting in the discussion board and say the resource you're going to be sharing, and then come back later and actually complete the details about it. That way you're kind of claiming it as your own. Because it would be kind of a bummer if you chose a resource and then started doing some work on it, and then you get all this work ready, you've typed it all out, you're ready to post it, and you go on and you see, oh, somebody just got done posting that. So feel free to go onto the discussion board and just post and just say, I'm going to be sharing da-da-da. And now that topic is yours and no one else will choose it. And then later on, you can go back in and you can, underneath of that, put the details about that. Okay, so let's look at some examples. So one thing that you could do is you could choose an organization. It could be a national organization, it could be a local organization. I've chosen two examples of some local organizations that, that relate to children and families. These are both based here in Bellingham, Washington. And so you can see that one of them is called Our Treehouse. And I got this mission statement from their website, and it says, Our Treehouse serves as a loving, healing community for children, youth, and families to grieve. Through peer support groups, provision of school-based support, and referrals to other community resources, we strive to ensure that grief has a place. This is a wonderful organization that I have actually had the opportunity to meet the leaders and to also know families that have been served by this organization, where they help children deal with grief. So if maybe a sibling has passed away, or a parent, or somebody who's an integral part of their life, and the child is needing some help, and really any child who's dealing with a loss like that, even if it appears that everything is fine, there is grief happening. And so this is a great resource to provide. And so if you chose this one, then you would delve into it. You would find out about, well, what are the ages that they serve? Are there any costs associated? What does this actually look like? What kind of, is this like where you go to, is it a once a week meeting? And what does it look like when children go? Where is it located? How do you get signed up for it? Do they come and do presentations at staff meetings so that maybe you can inform other people that work at your center or your school about this resource? So those would be some examples of some of the things that you might delve into. Another organization here in town is called Blue Skies for Children. And what Blue Skies for Children does is, you can see here that it says it raises hope and self-esteem by sponsoring activities for children who are homeless, low income, or in foster care in Whatcom and Skagit County. So basically what they do is that sometimes families will be able to provide music lessons or karate lessons or a musical instrument or some sort of extracurricular activity that a child is interested in, and oftentimes families will pay for that for their children, but not all families can afford to. And so what this does is this organization supports, they actually sponsor, well, they'll pay for karate lessons, or they'll pay for the rental of a musical instrument, or those kinds of things. They even, for older kids, even like pay for things like driver's ed and such. So, so you'd be able to, if you're interested in this one, go on and find out, well, what are the ages? How do you nominate somebody to do this? How do you apply? What are the different kinds of events that they do? What are some personal testimonies? So that we would all be aware of this. So you can see to where by sharing this, what this does is this gives us another tool in our belt. And so if you had a family that was dealing with grief, or if you had a family that wasn't able to afford for their child to do a special activity, then you would be able to guide them through this and to recommend this resource. So this is why I really like this assignment, because that's part of being a professional, is knowing what are the resources that are out there. And so, so this is an example of how you could take an organization. There's many other organizations in our community, and in fact, there's even some national organizations and such. It doesn't have to be a local one, but it needs to in some way serve families and serve children, and to where it would be, that would include children in early childhood education. And so we're talking from birth to 8 years old. Now, it could certainly have a wider audience, a wider clientele that they serve, but it needs to include that. So what else can it be besides an organization? Well, it could also be a website. Well, the thing I want to point out here is that what we just looked at on the slide before, those were snippets from, those were screenshots from those organizations' websites. But the website itself was not the resource. That was just a way to find out about the organization. But really, if you were going to get served by those organizations, it's more than just going to the website. But what I'm talking about when I'm saying it's a website is to where that actually is the resource itself. So here are some screenshots from one particular website that could serve as an example for that. And so this is a website called teachpreschool.org. And it's a free website, and it has all these different kinds of articles and resources that tend to be very helpful for people working in early childhood education. They are constantly updating, so you can see here that they even have one that says staying connected to your students is simple to do. And you can see to where it starts out with, I never thought there would come a day when I would be encouraging young children to join me for a Zoom call. And so so it's, you know, very much up to date to where they're talking about the coronavirus. They're talking about how to connect with kids, even if you're not serving them face to face. It has things that are very philosophical, like should young children raise their hands? And then also just very practical things like an easy to set up Valentine water play for your preschool, or a heart math graphing activity. So so it's very user friendly and such. And so if you wanted to choose this one, then you would then look through the website and kind of be able to share why would this be a great resource? Why would going to this website be helpful? So a resource could also be a book. So it could be kind of more of a theory kind of a book, such as we have Last Child in the Woods here. It's a great book. about, I love his subtitle, Saving Our Children from Nature Deficit Disorder. And so it's more of a book that's just really trying to encourage and shares ideas of some different schools and different communities and how they were getting children out into nature more. But it also might be just a very practical book, like one that you would refer to throughout the school year. So we can see one here to where the giant encyclopedia of circle time and group activities. And so this one is one to where maybe you have this at your center and it's something you refer to constantly and you're thinking, wow, I think this would be kind of neat to share with my peers here in this class, because maybe this would be a book that, that would be helpful to them as well. Or maybe you talk with someone who works in early childhood education and they share with you, you know, I really, my practices really improved with helping children learning early literacy skills when I read this book so much more than the ABCs, the early phases of reading and writing. And they might share with you why this book was so helpful, and you could interview them, you could take a look through the table of contents or the index, kind of skim through the book. It doesn't necessarily have to be a book that you've read the whole thing, but it needs to be something to where you truly feel that this could be a good resource. It's best if you don't just go onto Amazon and just pick something, because of course they're going to make it sound great. You want to make sure that you know somebody who has actually found it useful, or you yourself have found it useful. Certainly reading through reviews and things like that could kind of also maybe highlight some things that maybe you wouldn't have thought to highlight otherwise. So again, it could be an organization, it could be a website, it could be a book. It could also be a journal or a magazine. I put two examples here. Teaching Tolerance is one to where they have this quarterly journal that gets mailed in the mail, and then also they have all of the articles available online. And so a recent one of theirs was, There Are No Bullies, Just Children Who Bully, and you can help them. And so all of the articles were related to the issue of bullying and working with children to create a safe environment in your center or your school. Also, we have NIAC that has their young children journal that comes out monthly, and those are available online, or you can actually join NIAC and those come to you in the mail as well. And so a recent one of their issues was about nurturing wonder and using STEM and STEAM and STREAM projects that do that. And then also NIAC has a good reputation of also with their journals of not just giving ideas, but being very research-based. So those could be too. So again, if you chose those, you would really delve into it. You'd find out, you know, how much does it cost to subscribe? How often does it come out? What are some examples of some of the topics that they've addressed? And why is this helpful? Are there certain parts of the magazine that might be a favorite part for somebody to delve into? So that may be one that you would want to do. It could also be an email subscription. And so I gave two examples here. So an email subscription is where you could then, it's something that people would subscribe to, and typically they're free. And so it would be a good idea if you subscribe to it and start getting them for a while, or you look back. Oftentimes on their website, they'll have where you can even look back on past issues, so you can get a sense of what that will be. I provided one that is available through the U.S. Department of Education, their early learning newsletter, and then also through Child Care Exchange, they have something they call Exchange Every Day, that every single day there's something that comes into your email box with some current information about early childhood education. And so you would explain to people how to subscribe, how often does it come in, and then what are some examples of some things that have been addressed in the past, and why you would make that recommendation. Whatever resource you share, you do want it to be something that you are recommending. And so So if you aren't really sure of one, I really encourage you to look through and not just find something and go with your first one. We want this to be something to where when we read through everyone's, that you walk away with just all these new tools in your toolboxes that you can use as a professional. So the last thing that it could be is it could also be an app. And so it might be an app that maybe helps you manage your classroom, helps you engage with families. It might be something that maybe helps you keep track of developmental milestones, maybe a place to write down different observations that you have of children, or to snap pictures in an organized kind of a way. And so I put two different examples on here. So again, you would explain to people and give details about the app and such. For something like that, it would really make sense to where you actually download the app, give it a try. It would be really awesome if you find a center or a school, or maybe one you work at uses this. So an app can be a good idea. So blah blah blah. Stop there.